Hello, this is Trish Kelly. Welcome to the EIS Data Mini-Webinar. As you know, our work in the department is grounded in academics, student readiness, and educators. The agenda for this session is the department's Education Information System, EIS, including starting and ending enrollments in the school year, Extract 40 changes in values, cross-validation of Extracts 40 and 41, checking your data in your student information system and EIS homepage, resources and login, and EIS research queries. We will also discuss reconciling FPO, Federal Programs and Oversight, and other accounts with data that you download from EIS, and resources and contact information. Education Information System, EIS. EIS is the department's operational database. It is the primary data source for federal reporting requirements, and it is updated nightly with data transmitted from your student information systems and data from other databases. Starting the school year or enrollment. For student classification and other fields that are tied to enrollment, enter begin date as the date the status begins. 3 examples follow. These examples provide or apply in the absence of program-specific guidance. Please use program-specific guidance where it exists. Example 1. Enrollment and status begin the same day. Suppose the enrollment begins on August 6th and the student status begins on the same day. Then the student classification begin date is the same as the enrollment date, August 6th. Example 2. Status begins after enrollment. Suppose this time that although the enrollment date is on August 6th, the status begins later, perhaps September 20th. In this case, the student classification begin date is September 20th, after the enrollment date, because the status began after the enrollment date. Third scenario, status begins before enrollment. Suppose again the enrollment date is August 6th, but the status began earlier, perhaps July 15th. In this case, the student classification begin date is August 6th because the status is only relevant once the enrollment begins. Final thought on starting the school year enrollment. Be sure to satisfy the average daily membership audit report requirement that students have at least one student classification. You may do this in several ways. 2 possibilities follow. Use the regular R student classification for all students or only for students who do not have another student classification, or use another approach that meets your district's needs. Ending a status or placement. If the student classification ends during the year, that is, that the status or placement ends, enter the student classification end date as the date the status ends. For example, suppose Tom is a general education student who enrolls in the district in August. In October, Tom is placed in the Bedford County Juvenile Detention Center, which is identified by the JDC-01 student classification. His first day in the facility is October 12th, and his last day is October 18th. The JDC-01 student classification begin date is October 12th, and that is the date the status begins, and the JDC-01 student classification end date is October 18th, the date the status ends. Ending enrollments in the school year. For students who complete the year, an end date may be used, for example, May 28th, or the end date may be left blank. The blank value indicates that the student completed the year. Check with your student information system vendor on which approach works best in your package. As you're doing your coding, it's important to keep in mind that student classifications and other fields identify students as part of subgroups for accountability, funding, reporting, and other purposes. Therefore, please do not remove student classifications and other fields at the end of an enrollment or school year. Likewise, do not roll over student classifications and other fields that are tied to enrollments to the next school year. Again, the status applies to the year in enrollment. On the other hand, name, date of birth, native language, immigrant status, and other fields that are a permanent part of the student record may roll over to the next school year. In the next several slides, we'll discuss changes in values on Extract 40, starting with changes in birth country, immigrant, and year entered in 9th grade. When birth country, immigrant, and year entered 9th grade change, EIS will generate an informational error message that contains the previous value and a request to confirm the new value. If the new value is correct, no further action is needed. If the new value is incorrect, please revise your data in your student information system and restage it in EIS. Extract 40, changes in native language. Native language will not upload as blank or English if English language background was a value other than English in 2017-18 or later. Other changes in native language generate informational error messages that include the previous value and a request to confirm the new value. Check your data and submit revisions if needed. Extract 40, changes in date first enrolled in U.S. school. Date first enrolled in U.S. school cannot be uploaded as blank under two situations. First, if English language background was a value other than English in 2017-18 or later, or the immigrant flag was yes in 2017-18 or later. Other changes to date first enrolled in U.S. school generate informational error messages that include the previous value and a request to confirm the new value. Check your data and submit revisions if needed. Cross-validation of extracts 40 and 41. As we've just discussed, the date first enrolled in U.S. school and native language on extract 40 are tied to the English language background on extract 41. This leads to the following business rules. English language background is a required field on extracts 40 and 41 as of 2017-18. English language background is set and edited on extract 41. English language background is included on extract 40 only for validation. Extracts that include blank or invalid English language background values generate fatal errors and will not load. Checking your data in your student information system in EIS. This is an important activity and encourage you to do it regularly. Take advantage of online and on-site opportunities to learn about your student information system and EIS. If your district permits you to have a login to EIS, please request one. If you are not able to obtain an EIS login, collaborate with colleagues that do have one. Use the EIS research queries to compare the data in EIS with the data in your student information system. When you find discrepancies, correct them. It could be that those discrepancies occur because the data are not correct in SIS. In that case, make your revisions in SIS and restate your data in EIS. On other situations, it could be that the data is correct in your student information system, but it has not uploaded properly to EIS. So check for errors and resolve them. If necessary, contact your SIS vendor or the department's district technology support team for assistance. When you're working with EIS, you'll find that the EIS homepage, which is accessible at this link, is very helpful. It includes the EIS access form that you'll download and complete to obtain an account. It includes the EIS contact list. This list includes not only contacts for your district, but from around the state. So it's helpful if you'd like to collaborate with colleagues in your area or perhaps colleagues that have the same SIS package, because the list identifies this package that each district uses. Key resources for you will be the data dictionary and appendices and the extracts. For assistance, please contact the district technology support team at the email address and phone numbers shown here. To log in to EIS, you'll use the single sign-on page. You'll see that the Orion URL is provided here. That will bring you to the login screen. Click here. That will bring you to the second screen where you will enter your single sign-on email address and password. Once you've logged in, you'll be brought to the applications page. To check your data in EIS, select Data Reports. Next, select Research Queries. Then select one of the research queries from the list provided. To review FPO data, you'll use the following: English language learners, homeless student list, immigrant students, staff current assignments, student classifications, and student withdrawals. We'll review the student classifications research query because it contains many data elements that you'll be using throughout the year, including active duty military dependent 4, direct certification of economic disadvantage J, foster care FALSO 1, juvenile detention centers JDC 01 through JDC 17, migrant I, National Guard military dependent 5, reserve military dependent 6, runaway U, and Title 1T. To check your data using the student classifications query, for example, to check your foster care data, choose the student classifications research query. From the student classifications drop-down box, select foster care FALSO 1. Enter the year as 2024 for the 24-25 school year. For a school level report, select a school. For a district level report, select all schools. To run the query, select View Report. Typically, you will want to download the data to a CSV file or Excel. Use the file icon to the right of Find Next. The research query results follow a standard format. They will include a record for each student flagged, in this case with a foster care FALSO 1 student classification. School and student identifiers are on the left. The foster care FALSO 1 student classification, is on the right. Reconciling FPO and other accounts with EIS data. It's important to remember that EIS is a transactional database. The data that you download from EIS will contain no-shows, duplicate records, multiple enrollments, and varying enrollment periods. The accounts that you receive from federal programs and oversight and other teams have addressed those areas, and so you'll have to address them as well when you're comparing the counts that you receive from FPO with the data that you're downloading from EIS. What you'll need to do is eliminate no-shows and duplicate records. You'll need to address multiple enrollments. For unduplicated LEA-level accounts, include 1 enrollment per student per LEA. For unduplicated school-level accounts, include 1 enrollment per student per school. Include only enrollments that are relevant for the count. For example, for an October 1 count, you will exclude students who withdrew before October 1 or enrolled after. Finally, adjust accounts for revisions made in your student information system and EIS after the data were downloaded from EIS, because those revisions will not be reflected in the counts that you received. For additional suggestions about how to make these adjustments, please refer to the FPO Data Manual. Resources and contact information. Again, additional information not only on reconciling FPO data with accounts you receive, but on all the topics we've discussed today and for all of FPO's data, please refer to the FPO Data Manual. Contact information. If you have questions about FPO data and coding, please contact me, Trish Kelly. For questions about EIS errors and restaging problems, please contact the District Technology Support Team. That concludes our session. I thank you very much for joining me, and I encourage you to contact me if you have any questions. I'm happy to assist you.